Good afternoon slash evening, everyone. Welcome to part 4 of this mostly fresh start Malkadarr Reaper. Should be moving on into Ultimate. We have the XP pots. Alright. I think we're going to just keep stuff as is for now.
You're not looking for the body.
Hey, welcome in, Raka. Alright, so we have max devotions. We'll probably still do the ones that take an Aether Shard just because that's easy. Hey, Prickly, welcome in. Overcooked, well done steak is a matter of laziness. In terms of just not being willing to either use a timer or cook it correctly. I mean, I can forgive. There's a certain degree to which definitions can come into play. Everyone has a slightly different idea of medium rare, but if you're a good steakhouse or something like that, you should communicate what medium rare is so there's no ambiguity. And I guess if you're at a friend's barbecue or something, you're a little more on your own, but... Okay, impervious of soul warding. Yes, please. I mean, again, I don't know why we're using a Milton Helm, but... I mean, it's kind of an insane roll for resistances, so there we go. I mean, steak should never be well done. Hey, Miso, welcome in.
Oh, hello, traveler.
Slow cooked meat is seldom bad. The old sear the edge and finish in the oven works very well too. I mean, it also, I suppose it depends on the cut of beef, like a fillet or a New York strip, something along those lines. You worry less about slow cooking.
Along now.
Yeah. I use braising a lot, or just very slow cooking in the oven. Wrap with foil on top to seal in everything for certain tougher cuts of meat. Tends to work pretty well. When you get short ribs to the point where you just take a couple forks and pull them apart off the bone, it's pretty nice. Good day, welcome in, Violet.
The dead. I need some time.
Welcome to my region.
The Captain Press. Well, once I cleared out.
I've heard of them. I don't think I've used them myself, Prickly. But yeah, I know what you're referring to.
What do you want?
Greetings, Chip.
Well, what's with all the good, you're back. What am I? You've proved that's good work. There have been warden.
All right, let's swap this out. So yeah, I guess we'll put Mankind's Vigil on for now. Not that we really need it. I guess for the overcap is kind of nice. And we'll still take the runestone, except Can't equip the runestone yet. Oof. Well, this stays on until we get Darlet. Good evening, Farnsworth. Warborn died at 92. At least he didn't die at 93. There is solace in that. Ah. Wait, is that the Sunder thing? With Numeria and Noveria Stormfire? Yeah, exactly. Was Pneumatic Burst down, or just the Sunder was enough to end it? Yeah, ground effects always are not fun. Physical Pyromancer is now 99. Nice. They're talking about Mr. Warborn, who is another Grim Dawn streamer. He tends to do more, shall we say, off-meta, wacky build concepts. And he also tends to have the patience to stream for 8 to 10 hours at a time, which I do not. So kudos to him for that. Good to know, Farnsworth. So, I did read book 2 of Dungeon Crawler Carl. Like I think I told you guys, it was available from the library. I've got book 4 of Malazan from the library. It arrived in 2 distinct pieces because apparently the edition that was sent was not in good shape. But fortunately, the librarian put in a note that said, "This book came in two. Basically, this book came in 2 distinct pieces. Don't blame the current borrower. It's not his fault," which I appreciate. And yesterday I was feeling very under the weather, so I wanted something that would take very little effort to read. So I actually read the first book of, was it A Court of Thorns and Roses? And I'm just going to say this series is not for me, which I suspected, but now I have at least read 1 book and can talk about it without basically completely talking out my ass because I haven't read it. Like I read it. I read enough. I understand why it's popular. I understand why people like it, but it's just, to me, it's not that great or interesting. And I don't want to criticize the author because, kind of, now that I'm writing, I have some sense of how difficult it is to actually do. And the reality is, a lot of people probably aren't going to like what I write, so I don't want to be a jerk to another author, but yeah, it's not for me, is what I can say. And I don't think it's meant to be for me, but sometimes it's worthwhile to try things. I actually think I have book 3 downloaded for Kindle from the library, so I will give that a go at some point. Okay. So the logical, rational, responsible thing to do here. Oh, we have these as well. Vit Elemental. We lose some Chaos, which we can kind of afford. It's way more armor, so I think that's basically a must. Alright, and this had, this actually didn't have anything on it, so... Alright, throw on the Scaled Hide. And we can throw on another Scaled Hide, get our armor absorption up. That seems like a reasonable choice to make. Alright, we're in a slightly better spot now. Our bleed res is still terrible. That said, can we make a bloodied crystal? What's our so it's 106 scrap. Yeah, I think we're probably fine. Alright, let's keep item. Throw the bloodied crystal on this. That kind of fixes our bleed res. And somewhere we have the... Ah, here we go. So that fixes that. Alright. This feels a little bit better now. Sell a couple things quickly. We are on an XP pot, so... Yeah, I don't... Low-level Northern Worms never getting used. Don't care. Low-level Death Dealer, same thing. These are actually reasonable pants, but they're getting sold too. Low-level Avenger Karen also... yeah, if it's max all res, it's hard to just throw that away completely.
Put it to good use.
Okay, let them know we killed Krieg.
Is it finished? The warden's defeat is a... So you must hide before...
Ah, I cannot speak. Ah, I can. So, the three go to the.
The emissary war.
I could hear. Ah,
You've been quite a my dear. Then what this So you've chosen yes.
Well, look what...
Alright, we're going to see if Radlith has a Spectral Battle Axe. If not, we'll move on. I don't even care about... Oh, maybe we do care about the shrine just because some of the mobs that spawn can be equipped with can equip one. So we care about the shrine because it's a combat shrine that could give us drops. Yeah, I don't, well, it looks like he has the, is that Chill to Frostbite? It looks like he actually has an axe, so yeah. Let's see what he's got. Yeah, I don't tend to restrict links. If someone abuses it, they'll just either... Obviously bots, they get banned immediately, but yeah, as long as people aren't abusing it and people are reasonable and not like trying to post anything problematic. Shield of Soul Warding. Thank you, no. Alright, so yeah, Chill to Frostbite obviously is going to be better than Chill to Thunder. So let's swap that out. It's an improvement. I like books. I have absolutely no problem if people want to talk about books in chat. Keeps chat lively. And Creed's Cunning. Yeah, there are way worse topics. Not next week, no. Although I will say this, Farnsworth, I was reading, and at least some of the comments I said told me that Siege of Dragonspear ends up having some kind of spoilers for the types of mobs you fight in Baldur's Gate 2 that ruin the surprise. So as much as there's part of me that would love to take a save through that and have a more powerful starting character, I might just start Baldur's Gate 2 without any preloading any saves. And I may game a bit more next week. When at some point next week, I'm on pace to finish the 2 manuscripts I'm working on. So once those rough drafts are done, I'm going to take a couple days of not wanting to look at them at all, I might start very slowly working on the third book of the series for the fantasy one, but that's not going to be done at quite the prodigious pace that I've been working at the past couple of months. I'll probably do a little bit of writing to keep my sanity during the blocks of time where I'm editing stuff. And, help me sourcing and citing for a 350-page book for footnotes and all that fun stuff. No, I'm not doing that. This, do we have enough royal jelly for this quest? No, we don't. Okay. Get you the royal jelly. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 2 is a classic that I've always wanted to play. And, I mean, I still love the original. I've not played it in a very long time, but it is something I could happily play again. It's a great game. I mean, it's a type of game where not being super modern isn't really a problem. And I have all the nostalgia in the world for the thing. Hey, Tuma, thank you for the sub. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Oh, we're talking about books. Largely fantasy books, but sci-fi, fantasy, etc. Yeah, some of us even write Tuma. Ancient of the Wolf. That seems really good. Okay, we lose some Elirez. We get a ton of chaos. We get some stats. Some more Pierce. Alright, we can't afford really to lose. I guess, well, we can maybe barely afford to lose the elemental res. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's just an option for later. May not matter until we hit 90. Once we hit 94, we'll get something better anyway. Farnsworth, I know you're joking, but it's taking me all the willpower in the world to not time you out right now. I mean, yeah, that's a meme, but to be fair, is an apology video with a script you didn't write better? I mean, worse if it's done by ChatGPT versus being done by some crisis management firm. I mean, either way, it's completely insincere. But no, I'm not. I'm not modding YouTube. I haven't modded anyone yet. If I ever the stream grows enough, I might have to. But for now, it's fine myself. I mean, I can only muster so much outrage about people reading an apology written by ChatGPT versus written by somebody else. I mean, either way, they didn't write it. I mean, my take is unless you do something that's legitimately awful, you should never do any sort of public apology. Because even if you do, there's going to be someone who says, well, they didn't apologize in exactly the right way. Their apology was missing this element. And there's always going to be something that someone's going to complain about. So, unless you sincerely think you screwed up and you want to apologize because of that, that's the only reason to do it. I think if you just say no, most people aren't going to care. Well, the good news, Tuma, is if you're not a lawyer yourself, you can't be subject to disciplinary. Oh, well, whatever. I forgot to get this quest. Yeah, so if you're not a lawyer yourself, you can't be subject to discipline for having ChatGPT hallucinate citations. But yeah, there's people are continuing to get screwed by that. One of the most profitable, prestigious, wealthiest law firms in the United States, Sullivan and Cromwell, got in trouble recently for one of their lawyers submitted some sort of a brief that had like 30 or more errors in it. That was obviously done by AI and nobody checked. Like, that's not some one-person law firm. This is one of the most prominent, powerful law firms in the entire United States. I don't even know who that streamer is. I don't think. But yeah, judges should be pissed with inaccurate use of AI. I mean, it's your responsibility when you have your name on something to make sure everything in it's right. That's just very basic.
Well, you worked here. We have to hit them hard and fast. Damn, now they're...
Right? Like, I mean, I can tell you, like, if I've worked on things where some document a paralegal made 31 errors on. I caught 30 of them, and of course the partner was very focused on the one out of the 31 that I missed. And it's kind of, all right, fair enough. I'm the one who's forwarding this on to you. I'm representing that it's accurate. So if there's something wrong with it, yell at me. That's fine. But yeah, the idea that you're just going to use AI and you're not going to check the sources for something that you're not just like a draft you're sending to a client, even something you're filing with a court, is insane to me. Okay, yeah, I know who Asmon is. My view on him is he's basically a harbinger of whatever the kind of average 20 to 30-year-old dude is going to think about an issue. And if you use his commentary that way, it works. Yeah, I think I'm always going to be a better writer than AI too, at least in terms of any long form stuff. Although I will say I am loving the irony that there are now places that are finding AI is expensive, so they basically rediscovered what an entry level job is. And that's probably going to continue. So a lot of these companies that stopped hiring entry level people or laid them off to focus on AI are now going to. A lot of them are going to end up getting completely screwed over, and that makes me inordinately happy that short-sighted management teams that basically try to screw over their employees are going to get screwed over themselves. Yeah, exactly, Farnsworth. Cheap to begin with to hook you in. And I mean, the thing with outsourcing is, yes, does it cost less if you look at some basic numbers? Yes. But the one of the reasons it costs less is because certain hidden costs aren't directly quantified. Like you lose control over your product, you're subject to potential uh, increased costs of getting your product shipped overseas. Depending on where your product is getting made, there are certain geopolitical tensions that can basically result in you not getting your product for a while. Like there are a ton of risks that aren't actually factored in to any of the reports to say this is how much you save. Like this is how much you save if everything goes perfectly and you don't care about any of the potential long-term costs that you're not directly acknowledging. Yep. Cleaning up after AI's mistakes. All right, let's wait for Market Torment to come back, or we can just. Let's get out of there. Bait that out. Barbaric of Ruin. Alright, well that was a good one to be careful around. I've probably said this before in conversations involving AI, but in fact, I'm certain I have. But if you haven't, you guys should watch Person of Interest. It's a show that was very much ahead of its time.
Well, if it isn't bio, I haven't been. I came upon.
Hey, welcome back, Misa. Yeah, Person of Interest was a lot of fun, and it ended up having some depth to it as well. Oh man, the perfect storm that's going to come when companies realize, one, that they have to pay a ton of money for senior developers, and two, that they have to pay way more than they thought for AI. Alright, drop a portal, go to Homestead, then get the Pine Barrens Rift. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, the people who completely overhype AI. What's going to happen to them? Like, I know there have been a bunch of headlines about Accenture, which is a U.S. consulting firm, that their CEO said, you know, if you don't want to be all in on AI, basically, we don't want you here. I mean, I think AI is a bit... AI 1 has more actual potential to change things than Bitcoin ever did. Bitcoin, I will still call computer code masquerading as money, which in the entire valuation of it is based on the greater fool theory. You buy it assuming that someone else is going to be dumb enough to pay more. Like, there's no inherent reason why Bitcoin should have its value or a value 1/10 of what it is now. There's absolutely zero economic reason for it. AI at least has some potential to transform things. It is likely also a bubble and overhyped, but it's still something more. And most, with the exception of one weird tech company, most companies weren't basing their entire fortune on Bitcoin. And I want to see what Tuma posted as well. Let's see what's Tuma have. Okay, Grim League 7, Defiler, Blight Lord, is Kendra's Folly, so Vit Decay to Ravenous Earth. What is okay, so Acid and Vit to Fire, so Fire Ravenous Earth. Siphon Souls is doing Fire RR and Cocktail. And I guess you have a little bit of regen, but nothing crazy. A little bit of life steal, nothing crazy. And you're actually using the Seal of Destruction ability? Yeah. It's an interesting concept, definitely. And yeah, that's another thing. Prickly is, can they do it efficiently, or when will they be able to actually do it with as using energy and other resources efficiently? Okay, XP pot is out, so let's do something about that before we go turn in a bunch of quests. We killed a few mobs without the XP pot, it's fine. What's up, Master Halls? Welcome in. We're talking about books, and now apparently we're talking about AI. Got a few Grim tools going on. Good times. Oh, did we not kill Lutra? Oh yeah, that's always a fun one, Miso. We have to worry about the environment, except for all the energy we need to spend on these data centers. Is it quantum processors are 5 years away, and fusion power's 20 years away? Well, Miso, hypocrisy is one of the great universal human traditions. So, one does not have to like it, but it is very human.
I wasn't sure you'd. I wish I'm going to.
I'll skip the pleasantry. The Legion is split on.
Also, welcome in Rect. Swords and PoE 2 does sound like fun. I suppose there is an irony of the your work leading to basically eliminating demand for your own work. One day I will get back to playing PoE 2 a bit. Yeah, but if they're really smart, they'll make their own thumbs. And then what do you do? Yeah, apparently they've already done experiments that show AI is willing to blackmail developers and that it suspects are trying to shut it down. Yeah, I can't even imagine living next to one of those things. So you get this data center that no one wants to live next to, and shockingly, it causes real estate values to collapse because no one wants to live there. And your home prices declined, and they haven't declined anywhere else. So, unless you're willing to move into half the house, you can't go anywhere. Feel free to link it. It sounds extremely interesting to me. I probably won't read it for the sole reason that I just don't don't have the time at the moment. But that's exactly the sort of thing that I could see myself nerding out over. I don't know. Our politicians can't even take accountability for their own screw ups. Asking them to take accountability for other people's screw ups. Then again, maybe that's easier. I mean, if we have to worry about political correctness with AI and not even people, then we're in really deep shit, Farnsworth. I mean, if you're creating a tool without a moral base, that's not surprising. And I mean, Silicon Valley is not exactly known for being paragons of morality. I'd argue that the business model of there is basically break things first, ask questions later, which can create spectacular innovation, but with something like AI is probably not great. Well, there's a very big difference between technical proficiency and the wisdom to understand the deeper implications of what you're doing. I think there's also a tendency in Silicon Valley for people to be very optimistic about technology. Whoa, let's not die. And you need a certain amount of optimism to create something, and I'd argue you need a certain amount of optimism and trust in society for democracy to function. So some optimism is good and justified, but there's the great quotation from Upton Sinclair that it's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it, which applies oh so perfectly to something like AI and Silicon Valley is struggling to understand the moral implications of what they're doing. Because fully understanding that would be detrimental to their salary. If people voted on who's going to benefit them most in the long term, that would be fine. I think my concern is that people vote for they think is going to make their life better in the next 2 years, which leads to this zigzag and seesaw where no one actually gets a chance to implement anything.
My scouts have reported back from the
Just the person there are two other. The one you
Perhaps not. No, we're not going to do that.
I have come to represent Kaiman.
Almost completely screwed up this character. Fortunately, so used to siding with Death's Vigil, but we did not absolutely wreck this character. So, yay. Yeah, that's also true. The charismatic personality, person you want to have a beer with, that sort of thing, it's also relates to how people vote. Which is, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I think that a lot of political polarization is basically fake. Not that we don't dislike each other based on politics sometimes, but most people don't actually have a ton of deep-seated things where they are very knowledgeable and have strong opinions. Like, if there's 100 topics in politics, the average citizen, even the average politically engaged citizen, might actually have a reason to know what they're talking about on 15, and that's probably being generous. But you join a coalition of interest groups and you kind of cobble your policies on top of each other. So you have opinions about 15 things, not 100. And we end up fighting over the 100, even though most of us don't have opinions about the vast majority of them. Oh, I don't need to talk to you. I can just go do quests. What am I doing? I mean, uh, no offense, Brits. I hope this doesn't get me into trouble, but minus the liberal part, wasn't that basically Boris Johnson? I mean, Boris Johnson's clearly smarter than Trump, but I'm just saying he kind of had the whole brash personality, little bit off color thing going for him. He may have been cool, but I mean, some of the mannerisms and bit of populism. Pretty sure he was caught getting drunk at some party. I don't remember if it was during COVID or just why is a head of state out getting drunk, but oh yeah, he played the buffoon deliberately. Yeah, that's my that's kind of my point. I think for him it was a bit more of an act, obviously, but wait, is Faraj the Reform UK guy? I mean, fair enough. I think the lesson in politics, though, is kind of it's their job. It's the opposition's job to catch you. It's your job to not get caught. So yeah, I'm. It is, however, regardless, still an amusing story. I think Finland's prime minister got caught getting drunk at her friend's house or something as well. And then was horrified to discover that some people actually believe a head of state should be held to a higher standard than someone who's in a fraternity. Farage is reform. And reform is related to UKIP, or are they different entities? Or is reform kind of an attempt to create a different version of the Tories? I mean, my feeling is if you're head of state, you can't get away with doing stuff that normal people can do. Like, you just have to accept that the privilege of being a head of state comes with not being able to do stuff. But, I mean, I also believe good leaders don't ask people to do stuff that, within reason, they're not willing to do. So reform is people who are sick of the Tories, but okay. So is Reform UK basically MAGA but for England? Is that a doable comparison? I just want to see if I grasp the picture of that particular scene. Well, I mean, didn't they didn't they defect because they were sick of them? But yeah, okay. MAGA lights. Or we have this. Okay, we've done that. We have the seals, I assume. Yeah, we got 6 seals. We'll go up to Darkvale. Defected because they saw a new path to power. Okay, so it's like the people in the U.S. that the 2014 Conservative Party wouldn't touch with a 20-foot pole that that now are occupying more and more positions in Congress. I mean, sometimes in the U.S. it's hard to know what the position of the Republican Party is because it can change with one guy writing a tweet. I mean, there are absolutely rules that people create because one person was an idiot and did something. So even though you never expect, you think that's no reason to assume it's ever going to happen again, you need to create a new rule, and then you need a bureaucrat to enforce that new rule, and it spirals. Like, you know, you have one person in the United States who doesn't know that peanuts, a package of peanuts contains nuts. And now you have warning labels on peanuts that says warning contains nuts. It has nut in the damn name. I mean, technically, yeah, but oh, you're being much too idealistic because you know who would have to vote for that to happen, Misa? It'd be the politicians. It's like asking a CEO to veto their pay package because it's too much. Do I have to purchase the secret? Isn't that some ancient book? That was a thing a while ago. Although, I'm very pleased to learn, however, that we don't have... Do we have the Salile one? No, I don't think we farmed him, so never mind. We'll come back and do Forgotten Gods... sorry, not Forgotten Gods, Hidden Path later. So I was very pleased to learn that there is apparently a commemorative passport that's being issued this year that has a photo of the 47th President of the United States. I was very happy to learn that that is not the only passport that is being issued if you need to renew your passport. And it's only the default in Washington, D.C. So, I'm safe. It's like, because here's the thing. Regardless of what you think of the guy, and I think you all have a decent understanding of what I think of the guy, he's extremely unpopular overseas. So the idea that you want to pull up to some place overseas, open up your passport, it's a giant picture of the guy, that just seems like about the dumbest thing you could do traveling internationally. I mean, yeah, Clinton was a fantastic politician. I don't think anyone debates his charm or political skill. I'd have to look more closely at the photo Rockford to confirm that. But if that's true, there's a delightful irony there. I'm just waiting to see what his reaction is going to be when he loses his birthright citizenship case. And I'm also waiting to see if he's going to lose 9081 or 72. I think I'm not going to bother with Ravok right now. Yeah, it's such a terrible idea, James, to have that passport. But yeah, you should be fine. I don't know when it's officially coming out, if it has already or if it's in the near future, but yeah, you'll be all right.
I am told I could not when the Legion was forced to blitz. I've already informed.
I mean, to be fair, the elite trying to avoid being drafted is far from unique to him. There's an entire industry to get people out of the draft in Vietnam. So as distasteful as it may be, it's definitely bipartisan and universal. I think generally in oral arguments, the court presses on. Like you'll see the court press both parties on a number of issues, and then decide the issue 8-1 or 9-0. And it's clear the questions are just trying to draw out something from the advocate. I mean, realistically, the court could very well say, we're not going to rule on the Constitution. We do, however, have a statute that was passed in Congress by the 1950s that was written with the exact same language that was interpreted to mean that birthright citizenship is a thing then, and the United States government has been acting to grant citizenship on the basis of birthright for 70 years since the passage of that statute. So I think the court can just say on statutory grounds, this is what we're doing, and that's that. I mean, the best I can say for the argument from the administration is it's not completely frivolous, but they are very much trying to make subject to the jurisdiction thereof do work that it was never understood to be doing. So the weird thing, Miso, is that the executive order in question was done to be retroactive. Sorry, it was done to not be retroactive, to be prospective only. And I think to people born after the executive order was promulgated. Now, is that completely arbitrary? Could a future administration say, you know what, we're going to do it retroactively? Quite possibly. Does that create a mess depending on how many generations you go back? Oh God, yes, it would be absolutely insane. But the argument now is for it to be a form of prospective change from the start of the administration and not before. So it wouldn't affect the citizenship of anyone who's currently a U.S. citizen. So the issue is about, with birthright citizenship is basically, if it's primarily being argued about people whose parents are in the country illegally, but the only reference that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to jurisdiction thereof are citizens is subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And subject to the jurisdiction thereof applies specifically to the persons born in the United States, not to their parents. I mean, that's kind of generally the complaint, is that in theory you have some amount of people coming here specifically for their children to have U.S. citizenship. But I think, Roberts had a great line in the oral argument when he was saying, it's a changed world, but it's the same Constitution, which is one of my favorite things that I've heard Roberts say in an oral argument in a while. And I mean, the point of that is, you're stuck with the text of what's in the Constitution or the statute. If circumstances have changed, it's incumbent on either Congress to update the statute, or the Congress and the states to update the 14th Amendment or the Constitution. It's not up to the court to reinterpret the statute or Constitution to be convenient, which is, one of the other funny things is you've got the ACLU lawyer who didn't speak originalism and thus did her client no favor before the Supreme Court. The ACLU's lawyer saying we need to use the original public meaning of the Constitution. And the administration is trying to make a conservative argument, which usually is based on originalism, though there's a difference between judicial philosophy and political philosophy. But the administration making an argument that's basically a living document argument, and the ACLU making the originalism argument. It was funny as hell to see that. I mean, I think the best that Trump does is gets 2, and if they base it on the statute, I don't think it will be 9-0, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was. Like an 8-1 ruling on the basis of the statute and at least a 6-3 concurrence on the Constitution, if not a 7-2, I think is possible. But we will see what happens. I do think the oral argument could have cast a little bit of doubt on it, but there's also reading the transcript or kind of listening to what's being said and actually kind of reading between the lines. Like there's a moment in the oral argument where Kavanaugh was asking a question. He's one of the conservative justices that Trump appointed in his first term. Was asking a question of the ACLU lawyer, and you read the question and you kind of interpret it. It's like he's actually trying to help her, and she was not picking up what he was laying down. So I do think some of the oral argument's ambiguity is down to the ACLU lawyer not speaking originalism, and but the case isn't really going to be decided, I think, on oral argument. The case is going to be decided based on the briefs and all of the research that was done before the case was even submitted. Yeah, I mean, I think the way you stop abuse of the system is you change the rules, which requires either amending the statute or amending the Constitution. But you can't say we're not changing the statute, and you have and an executive order is going to is going to do the work most likely. I mean, that is likely not going to sit particularly well. So I will say some of the people who are most opposed to illegal immigration, MISO, are legal immigrants who say, I went through the line, I did this the correct way, I dealt with all the bureaucracy, how dare you try to get the same place I am without having done that? But like anything, it varies. And I mean, I'm very much a process-oriented person. That I care that that things are done correctly, and that we follow the actual text that's in the Constitution or that's in a statute, and that we're not playing games to try to achieve a policy goal. So, I think you can also make arguments that certain things are bad but legal, and certain other things are good but illegal. And it's the court's job to say this is what's legal, this is what's illegal, not necessarily this is what's bad or good. Birthright citizenship as a matter of policy tends to be a Western Hemisphere phenomenon, with some exceptions, and citizenship, being based on your parents' citizenship versus where you're born tends to be a European and elsewhere phenomenon. So it's interesting. Two very different systems, but we do have the constitutional amendment that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So, and yes, I've memorized that. Yeah. And justice can be combined with mercy. You can enforce the law reasonably and kind of do your best. I think it's reasonable to make a moral argument differentiating people who come into the country illegally as adults versus coming over illegally as children with their adult parents who were entering the country illegally. I'm not sure there's any difference from a constitutional perspective. I don't think there is, but from a moral perspective, if you're trying to essentially enforce the law, your first priority should be enforcing the law against those who kind of say had a choice in whether to break it versus those who didn't. If you're a kid, you're not going to say, "No, mom and dad, I'm not coming with you. I'm going to stay by myself in the country you're leaving." That's never going to happen. What's the mechanism for naturalize? It's like, as in, you come here, you on a visa, you get a green card, you go through all sorts of bureaucratic hell, and finally get your citizenship if you stick to it enough. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it morally, is that if you came over here as a kid, and this is the only country you're ever going to know, I don't think you've done anything wrong. I think, the challenge there is if you say that, then are you going to deport the parents who did make a conscious choice to come here illegally, and then you're breaking up a family. But your only choice then is to say, okay, well, we're just not going to make any differentiation, and I'm not sure that's a better option. Like, I think the legal arguments for immigration are a lot more clear than the kind of nuance of some of the moral arguments. The moral arguments can be very difficult. Did we, oh. Hang on, I have to go back to Fort Icon, I guess. It's very hard to blame someone for wanting a better life for their children. That doesn't mean we don't, a sovereign nation doesn't have a right to enforce its immigration laws, which absolutely does, but you can, based on that, make decisions about what you think is the best way to enforce those laws. It is easier to read it in a vacuum, but arguably that's one of the good things about it. Is that we do have text and rules that we're supposed to, at least in my view, apply consistently. And it's up to us to update them if we think they're inadequate to the job.
Took you long enough. The cult of Cthulhu. It appears that the ritual.
All right, we go get the blood wagons. Yeah, that's the issue. Is like, if you give citizenship to the kids, and you retroactively come in and do it for the parents as well, which eliminates the moral differentiation you use to say, hey, let's not do this to the kids. That said, I mean, I do think the Constitution, the text is very clear on birthright citizenship, and I think to a degree birthright citizenship is controversial because we haven't done a great job in certain eras of enforcing immigration law. If immigration laws were vigorously enforced, the practical issue of birthright citizenship would be almost nil. But because immigration law enforcement has been, let's say, sloppy to be charitable, at times, we have a lot of people getting citizenship because people came here illegally and had children. Which people can debate you can debate the policy outcome whether that's good or not, but if you're enforcing the law regularly, you're not having that particular issue. But if you don't enforce the law, then you create something. Yeah, exactly, James. Imagine Congress actually doing their jobs. Ever. Yeah, I think generally people who are committing crimes, it should be first priority for, if you're here illegally and you're committing crimes, it should be first priority for deportation. If you are here legally but not a citizen and you commit crimes, then we should absolutely favor everyone who's not committing crimes over you for citizenship. That seems obvious. And I think one of the tragic things, one, refusing to deport people because you don't want to seem racist, even though you're talking about a subset of people who are actually criminals. The problem is, one, I think it creates resentment against all the people who are law-abiding in that particular group. So instead of thinking about the impact on who you're deporting, you also have to think about the impact on who's still going to be in the country. And so if they nuke the filibuster, yes. If they don't nuke the filibuster, sorry, if they nuke the filibuster, yes. If they don't nuke the filibuster, pretty much no. And they're not going to nuke the filibuster. Which, while I understand in theory, you don't want to be the ones who, blow up the only recourse the minority power has to negotiate. You know it's going to be gotten rid of someday, and there's part of me that says, well, if you know it's going to be gotten rid of someday, you might as well be the one to get rid of it and get the first mover benefit. They very well may, Farnsworth. I do think that having a slim majority in the Senate in Biden's first part of his term, and having a couple of senators that said we don't want to do this, gave political cover to every other senator who had doubts about it. So there very well may be more votes against it than you think, but at some point it's going to be too tempting. I mean, I do think the fact that you can filibuster without actually having to hold the floor is kind of ridiculous. Like, you're not even doing anything. But I mean, that's more of a procedural gripe with how they're filibustering. Like, you know, go up on the floor and read War and Peace. Like, do it the old-fashioned way. Lose sleep. Make sure you're consistently yielding to people in your own party, that sort of thing. If you're not willing to read War and Peace and the Declaration of Independence 37 times and all that, then maybe you don't deserve the filibuster. Yeah, be shown who's doing it. Like, if you want to do it, fine, but actually be physically there and do it. Because when you make it easy to be obnoxious, people tend to be obnoxious. And I do think filibustering is a little bit of an obnoxious thing.
You've returned. So our great So our great moment of triumph. Good, you're back. I struggled to admit. You see the Illuminati.
We'll be setting out for Devil's Rock.
Excuse me. My father and I were part of a small...
Hold on. See, 24% chance to be used. 45. 66. 96. 97. 98. 99. Okay, 100. Full weapon, full skill chance. Yeah, and in the U.S., it's unique to the Senate because the House has procedures for ending debate that don't require a supermajority. The Senate does not. I think in the U.S. it used to be more restrictive and used to. You know, like when the old school Southern Democrats in the 50s and 60s wanted to be racist and oppose civil rights, they had to get up there and actually talk. And I do think that's how it should be. You should actually have to show up and do the work. If you can't be bothered, then the bill should probably get passed. All right, let's yeah, we'll take another XP pot. We'll just push on ahead. So yeah, we have a bicameral legislature, which does not mean two kinds of caramel. Bad joke. I'm sorry. Couldn't help myself. But so you have that. You have the House, which is you have a bunch of districts across the country, and then you have the Senate, where every state, regardless of size, gets 2 senators. And the Senate sort of represents the fact that it's called the United States of America is because you have all of these different states that agreed to form a union. And so, in addition to the people having a voice, each state as an entity has a voice. So the Senate is the entity for the states, even though senators are now popularly elected. And the House of Representatives is much larger, has way more representatives. And yeah, you have to pass legislation. It has to get past the House and the Senate. And then the president has to essentially approve it. Or if the president says no, then the House and Senate can come back and override a veto with 2/3. But getting a veto-proof majority is pretty tough. So realistically, you need the House, the Senate, and the president to agree on something. Which, if you want nothing to actually get done, is a very brilliant system.
Please, just...
The UK, of course, has the Westminster system, which sort of merges the executive and legislative branch into one. And the Prime Minister and such are pulled from people who are already in the House of Commons. I need a black tallow, don't I? Yeah, okay. And it's easier to run through legislation in the UK for that reason, because if you win an election, you might have to form a coalition with another party or two, but once you have that coalition, you just negotiate within the coalition, then you decide you're going to do something, and you pretty much get it done. You can pretty much get it done. A lot easier than in the US system. Oh, black tallow, right. Oh, 3 rift stones. So there are definitely issues the two-party system has that a system with way more political parties doesn't, but some of them I think are overstated. I think we're very clearly seeing some of the weaknesses of a two-party system now, but the idea of a two-party system is rather than a bunch of parties forming coalitions to create a government, you have the coalition forming at the party level. So, you know, three coalition of a few different interest groups form one party, a coalition of other interest groups form another party, and whichever party wins, wins. And even in systems where there are more than two parties, there are usually often two major dominant parties. So it's not a two-party system, but it has some similarity. And to the extent it doesn't, a lot of the difference is less the number of parties and more something like proportional representation, which ensures that every party gets at least some voice. Hey, Kibitz, welcome in. You are free from farm hell. Congratulations. Let's get some good news in chat. And I try to be optimistic as well, Miso, because I'm kind of a firm believer that... Oh, did I go the wrong... No, I didn't go the wrong way. This always feels like a detour, even though it's not. But yeah, I'm a firm believer if you can't even foresee something good happen, you're never going to be in a position to help make that happen. So you have to be optimistic at least to foresee the possibility and think it's something that can happen. If you can't even get to that level of optimism, it's hard to change the world for the better. You don't have to think it's likely. You just have to think it's possible and be able to see some path.
Whatever it is you think you're doing here, interest if you what you I care.
Okay, I need to decide if we're going to finally go hostile with Barrowhome on Ultimate. And the reason we do that is for Reaper Pants. We also... Thunderstruck of the Boar. Okay, that's actually kind of a nice ring. Yeah. Some you know... Don't be Panglossian, but be positive, I think is a good way of putting it. Don't be Pangloss, don't be Cassandra. Find something reasonable in the middle. Alright, let's trying to... These guys can kind of hurt. So Mark of Torment is on 2. Yeah, we are a little squishy. Let's not die to random tree crap trying to get a few extra blooms. Because that would be sad. I mean, our armor isn't even that bad. Coven honored. Alright. Yeah, we never bought the writ for Coven, but that shouldn't even matter. We'll just do all their quests. We'll get to Revered, I think. Plus killing the beasts. Leafmane Alpha Horn. Do we have Venom Gaze Bile? We have a Leafmane Horn. No Venom Gaze Bile as far as I can tell. Alright, we have to get Venom Gaze Bile from somewhere. Oh, I'm glad to hear they saw reason. Miso, good work. Oh, were you here earlier, Miso, when I said that I finished book 3 of Malazan? I got book 4 from the library. It showed up in essentially cut in half because the spine is in such rough shape. They had to attach a note that says basically, "Don't blame me for this book being in absolutely atrocious condition." It was like that when he got it. And I also read the first book of A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I don't want to be too critical of the author. I'm just going to say that book series is not for me. And I suspected it wasn't, but it gave me something relatively mindless to do while I was trying to recover from feeling completely under the weather. So that at least was valuable. A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's a romantasy series by this author Sarah J. Maas, which I suspected I would not like, and I happened to be lent a copy of the book and said, "All right, I will read one book so that I can actually talk about it a little bit intelligently." Yeah, it's very much not for me. I mean, this one barely qualifies, Max. I've heard that they get significantly more that way as the series goes on. Like, I think if you're reading book 1 for that, you'd be disappointed. Also, at one point, I may have been yelling, "You ripped off the myth of Persephone." But to be fair, I suppose everyone steals from Greek mythology at this point. I can't be legitimately mad about that. But I'm reading the scene and I'm like, "Oh, come on. This is literally the same exact thing." I mean, on the max scale for this sort of thing, this would probably be like what going to a Tridentine Latin mass and singing Gregorian chant. On the normal scale, it's like a 3. I mean, yes, she wrote a feminine female character, but sort of, even. As a feminine female character who taught herself how to hunt, which is, on the one hand, is cool. On the other hand, is not something one would traditionally view as feminine. Sounds very classy. You approve? I mean, Max, if the state of Texas keeps it up, you might have to start reading more books. I'm just saying. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to criticize what other people like, say they shouldn't like it or anything like that. You read what you like to read, and I do think that in general reading is better than not reading. So if it's getting people to read and maybe they explore some other stuff, great. I think reading forces you to use your imagination in a way that other media doesn't, and I like that a lot. So I'm not going to criticize an author for successfully capitalizing on a maybe popular trend. I do think it's fair to say that it's not for me, and there are things that I don't particularly care for about it. But obviously, I'm not. I'm the minority. Yeah, I agree. If you're reading, even if it's something that one might call trash, you're still reading. Like, you're still looking at words in the page and conjuring up your own images. You're still using your imagination. You're still, I think, usually when I read, I engage a lot more with the work. I ask more questions. I think about more things than if I'm watching a TV show or a movie. I know not everyone's like that. Some people really delve into television and movies. Good ones I can, but I think for me that's more the exception. All right, let's see. Is there any reason to be friendly with Barrow Home? Not really. Hopefully I don't need gigabit res or anything like that, but the only other question is, do I actually want Reaper Pants? Because if I don't want Reaper Pants, then maybe I don't care. Hold on. I'm not going to pull it up on screen, but I will look at it, Farnsworth. Hold on. Okay, Reaper's leg guards. +3 to Blade Spirit, +3 to Soul Harvest. I mean, OA and Pierce Res. Yeah, F you, Score. You gotta die now.
You strike me as that is rather disappointing. Must we truly bicker over a misunderstanding?
And even the Namadea helm might not be the worst for me. It's probably not great, but it's really more of a Sabo item, but could be usable. All right. Okay, what is all right. Those covers could be worse, Farnsworth. Still glad I didn't put them on stream, but oh, my cover is going to be awesome. You know, it feels funny to say 3 books in, but I feel like the action's finally starting to pick up. Miso. And I have a couple of ebook loans from the library that I need to finish this week, and then once I finish those, I will get to book 4. Well, I was pretty much determined that unless I hated it, I was going to finish it. So, but yes, I am enjoying reading it. It's like, I read Wheel of Time. I can read 10 books. Come on. I'll let you know if I do, Farnsworth. I do. Book 3 of that is actually one of the digital, ebook things I have from the library. I think I have until May 12th to finish it. So, I'll do that. I have one of Joe Abercrombie's books, I think it's The Heroes, which is one of his set in the world of the First Law series. That also needs to be done by that date, so we'll see exactly when I finish it, but I should get those 2 done this week. I should finish my manuscript for book 2 of my novel series in the next 7 or 8 days. And then I'm just going to take a couple days of not doing much of anything with respect to writing. I'll do a little bit just to kind of keep up a streak of doing a little bit of little something every day. Might start book 3, but yeah, I'll relax a bit. I find I don't like to take too much time off when I finish a project, but a couple of days to clear my head and think about some other stuff is nice. And yeah, so I thought the 3rd book as a whole was good. It has some interesting twists. All right, what? Force of habit going back to talk to Scorv, which we do not need to do. Yeah, I'm going to read the 10-book series first. I may read some of the other stuff at some point, but there's so much else out there that I want to read that I don't want to get stuck in reading 30 books of Malazan.
The altar of Ratosh is a rare. Now that you have whatever since yes, deep beneath.
I mean, there's... You don't need to find an exact replica of Malazan, though. In fact, you probably don't want that. I love Wheel of Time. I'm very glad that most of the epic fantasy I've read has not felt like Wheel of Time. It, not to say there aren't similarities, some similarities, some tropes, of course, are going to be recycled. That's to be expected, but it's different, and I think that's good. And I think people playing with tropes in different ways is good.
We were not.
Was your disappointment with the book or with the translation, Farnsworth? The book. Fair. I actually I may not have finished that actually. I think I started it and it wasn't lack of interest, it was a lack of time situation. Um I love The Count of Monte Cristo. It's a top 5 favorite novel of all time for me. But so I probably will give Musketeers another chance. But yeah. All right. 91 All right, let's do the Coven quest line. No. Well, I'm not going to write the next Malazan Miso. I have my own ideas of what I want to do as a very distant prequel to the series I'm working on now, but hold on. Mythical Runic Bracers. We lose attack speed, but oh my gosh. I think we take these, right? Like, how do we not take Runic Bracers until we get a really good, like, GG blue, cold glove? It's a DPS hit, but fine. I mean, our damage with Baroneth's Fury is not great, but we will eventually get Serenity. We'll get level 94 weapons. We'll be alright. If I knew what that meant, Farnsworth, I might find it controversial. But the more I read, the more I learn how much I have not read. And I've said this before with my own writing, but what I'm doing now, focusing on stories that take place in, granted, a large city. Like, think this isn't Rome, but it's kind of like it's like a Rome in that it's probably the most largest, wealthiest city in the known world, sort of a situation. But it's one city, and it's a small cast of characters that work for one part of the city's government. So while other stuff is going on in the world and occasionally gets commented on, I can mainly focus on the small group of characters and slowly grow the sizes of the conspiracies and issues that they deal with, but it's kind of keep it relatively constrained. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Don't die. If we had more damage, we might actually be less likely to die. But what are you gonna do? Okay, screw this. Let's just go. Go Silvaria. Silvaria. Move. Really double sunder? And you drop me a Shroud of Squalls. Not even worth turning up my nose. Elden Ring on the list of games that I might one day play. Thing is, I don't know how much I love the concept of Souls-like games. I love that they're made to be a certain difficulty level. I think that's great. I don't know if I personally enjoy playing them. Oh yeah, George R. R. Martin did a bunch of lore consultations on Elden Ring. That's right. I remember that. Kill Silvaria. Sorry, not no Silvaria. Janaxia. Were these the same people who are saying, why does he have time to do lore on Elden Ring when he can't finish his books? Which, on the one hand, I kind of understand.
Goradia speaks. At least it appears Goradia, yet not far.
On the other hand, I can see reasons why he might never want to finish, even if he was planning on it. Like, yeah, it's like half the fandom didn't understand that Daenerys Targaryen is supposed to be a cautionary tale. And we're very angry that she didn't get parts of the ending that they wanted for her. I should just say screw it and go full spoilers at this point. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones or read any of the dialogue about it, you probably never will. I mean, it's possible.
Have you purged everything?
Yeah, I think George R.R. Martin has a mix of doesn't want to finish writing because he knows the fans. So a part of the fandom is not going to like the ending, and he's not going to change the ending to please the fans because I don't see him doing that. And also, I do think there's some truth to the fact that he may have written himself into a bit of a corner. And with if you don't know where your book is supposed to go, it's very hard to sit down and write. Like, you can maybe say, okay, here's a scene I know I'm going to include. Let me write that scene. But there are only so many of those scenes that you can do before you realize, I don't have a core part of this book that I need. And I need to figure this out before I can keep going. Like, I think writer's block is a mix of either laziness, lack of discipline in getting your work done, or realizing that there's something wrong with your story most of the time. But yeah. Writer's block is realizing that your story has problems in many cases and not knowing how to fix them. Okay. God, how bad is our percent cold? 1273. Okay, yeah, that's pretty pitiful. This is bad. It's not even remotely good. I mean, what's our average eye level now? 57 at level 92. Yep. Okay. I guess we can kill Ravok because we need to do that to get the quest to kill Malkadarr anyway, and we need a sword, so... Yeah, exactly, Farnsworth. It's like, this happens because of this, and I can see myself getting bitten by that, which is one reason. But before I publish the first book, I'm going in my series, and this is a smaller, less ambitious series that'll kind of start revealing the world. But before I publish book 1, I'm going to start writing book 3. Because by the time I start writing book 3, I'll at least be able to figure out if there's anything I should change in book 1 to make the start of book 3 make sense. Whereas if I publish book 1, and then I get the book 3 and say, you know, it kind of sucks that I did this in book 1, I'm in trouble because I've already published the book. Yeah, Tales of Dunk and Egg are nice, and I enjoyed his sort of fake history, the whole fake history of the Targaryens thing, which is kind of written consulting various made up sources. Like that was delightful. So this initial series is going to be 5 books, probably in like the 120,000 word count. So around, if I'm estimating, about 400 page novels. I have other stuff in mind that's not that series though, and I have a rough idea from a prequel that's prequel probably you know similar word count, but maybe in a trilogy that would be a bit more of an epic fantasy in nature. Um, I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do with that Miso, because on the one hand, I don't want to dox myself. On the other hand, if it becomes more and more of what I'm doing with my life, I might consider sharing. I'm also debating if I want to write under a pen name to sort of, for at least marketing and branding purposes, separate political commentary from more fun stuff. Not for the purpose of hiding my identity, but just, you know, if people read something under my name, they know they're getting something more of the kind of nonfiction, me ranting at the world sort of situation. And if they get something under the pen name, they know they're getting something that's written to be a little bit more fun and enjoyable. Prickly, I wrote a book about politics, which I'm deliberately not sharing the title of on stream. The novel series I'm working on, I have written the first draft of the first one, and am around 88% done with the first draft of the second one. I'm also mostly done with the first draft of a second book on politics, which again, I'm definitely not sharing for the time being. Yeah, so that's the real debate: is do I use a pen name for the other stuff, or do I just say or do I just at some point say my political commentary and other writing, just assume it's separate. Arcane. Oh my god, there's 2 arcanes. Okay. Well, now there's 1 arcane. Now there's 0 arcanes. But yeah, that's another reason other than wanting to write enough into the series to make sure I don't screw up continuity in an obvious way by coming up with a better idea halfway through, I'm also debating the pen name thing, figuring out how I want to do the cover art and a bunch of other stuff that I have no experience whatsoever in, that I just have to teach myself. Prickly, the fun one is set in a world where most magic has been destroyed, but there are remnants that certain people have access to that give them some, I'm going to call them reasonable superhuman abilities. Like, you can jump a little bit further. Like, you could jump across you could jump from roof to roof across a narrow street, that sort of thing. Your reaction times and reflexes are going to be a bit faster, but you're not going to be powerful enough to be a one-man army or anything like that. But there's a bit of light magic sprinkled in. But the prequel series, on the other hand, would be very heavily magic and explain how magic was destroyed in the world. Okay. Once again, clicking on the thing that Farnsworth is sending me, but not putting it on stream. Definitely not. Definitely more of a sophisticated young female character dressed in all black. Because, of course, you're going to dress in all black to go commit a crime. Yeah, chat is fun today. I like it. God, we need damage. Yeah. Twitch hot tub streams is something that I have absolutely zero interest in. It seems like about the most pointless thing on the planet, but I suppose I'm not the target audience. I think I'd rather read the entire A Court of Thorns and Roses series than watch a single hot tub stream. In fact, I know I would. And I don't want to read the entire series of A Court of Thorns and Roses. One book was enough. Yeah, don't say it, Miso. Nah, the at least the cover of book one is very tame, Farnsworth. Sorry to disappoint you. Oh my god, why does this hurt so much? I could just run through and not. That was a little dicey. Let's just keep going. Let's get out of here if we need to. We can cluster. I don't want to be in the void any longer than I have to. And we're out.
on again. You're right. Oh,
Is it a 5-letter word, Miso, that changes out one letter from what used to be a really large microprocessor chip manufacturer in the United States? There, I think I said that in a way that doesn't violate TOS. So if that was the word you're going, I mean, I don't even know if that's the target audience. If that was the word you're going for, but obviously there's a target audience. Someone's there. Someone's donating. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I have no interest in that I at least understand the point of. And that is one of those things I struggle to even understand the point of. Like, whatever it's being used for, it just seems like it's an inferior substitute. Yeah, and then they figured out what sells the most. I mean, I think the parasocial aspect of that business model is pretty much pure fraud. I mean, I realize they probably have legal fine print that says you're not actually talking to this person, but people aren't reading that legal fine print. And if you're counting on people not reading your fine print, you are, in a sense, scamming them. And then you've got the person who makes 20 bucks on it, and their pictures are up there forever, and there's nothing they can do about it. It's like, it's seems like a very strong net negative for civilization. Get the zombie. Yeah, pretty much that it does. Let me let's go down here. Let's not get completely surrounded by enemies. Let's just go south. These guys tend to be a little weaker. Can separate out the pack. So we are not strong right now. I'm curious, what's our life steal? But all right, let's life steal. We're running a little past the 3-hour mark, but I do want to hit level 94. What do we have for life steal? Okay, yeah, that's pretty strong. That's just like necro things, really. And Ugal, devotion. All right, 2 of the 3 ways for the zombie are clear. Let's see if he's in one of those. Take off blade spirits. There he is. Okay. The power stuff for what I'm working on now, where there's very little magic, it's innate to certain people and very heavily trained. So it's not in items or rituals specifically, but it's in being identified as someone who has those powers and training them very hard. And yeah, different people are going to be stronger in certain things. Some people will be better at using it for physical strength, other people for agility, etc. I mean, no one has to read Wheel of Time, but I think once you get through Malazan, you're going to be less intimidated by Wheel of Time. So I think Wheel of Time overall is easier to follow. All right, give the gifts, right? Reactivate Blade Spirits. How much do we have? 295 XP to next level. Okay. Do we do the Kaimon stuff? 155. We can also just rush through the Mammoth sewers. Yeah. I'm going to go through the Mammoth sewers. And I think once we hit 94, I'll see who is on. All right, have a good one, Farnsworth. Thanks for dropping by. I'll see you next time. We'll be heading out in Raid Zone in a few minutes anyway. But yes, books, politics, and Grim Dawn. Oh my.
You better have a damn good reason to be here. And I don't know what. So this is. If you're serious, the ethereal.
All right, level 94. It only took basically forever. 13 hours. Granted, we didn't have XP pots for the first 10 plus, but so yeah, we are level 94. I'll be continuing this character on Saturday morning. If I stream tomorrow, it will be more Dishonored stuff. I might actually start playing Dishonored 2. I have 90% of the achievements, so I might try to get a few more achievements playing through that. Or we could continue the High Chaos Corvo run that we started last time to get a few more achievements there. But we're doing some more Dishonored of some kind. I might be about to get smacked in the face with allergies and sneezing all the time. If that happens, I won't stream because no one wants to listen to me sneeze into a microphone. But barring that, we'll be playing something fun that's not Grim Dawn related tomorrow. All right, I will send you guys over to Mr. Warborn, since he is apparently still playing Grim Dawn. Okay, 1 minute. Well, I will get the raid started and can ask your question as I'm doing that. But I think, yeah, it's going to be a high chaos run because I need to do stuff like kill a bunch of people, drop assassinations, and so forth. But I won't necessarily, even though it's high chaos, do the direct assassinating the target. Some of the missions, I like to go another way. All right, go ahead and whisper me so that works. Okay, let's send you guys over to Warborn. Appreciate everyone hanging out and be doing Dishonored stuff tomorrow and Thursday. That's the plan, and then more Grim Dawn on the weekend. Have a good one. See you next time.